welcome to SNB Talking Sport. I'm your host, Spinksy, and we have a huge show lined up for you guys this week. But first, let me start by saying the South Gungahlin under-8s girls team have lost their first game this season.
No.
I know.
What happened?
They were 7-0 to start the season. They had a 4 to 5 week break over the school holidays, and the girls just didn't come out firing in this game. They were down 8-2 at halftime, and they ended up going down 9-2 in total. Obviously, we're not allowed to keep score, but I do. Ness, you've played hundreds and hundreds of netball games in your time and lost most of them. What advice do you have for the young girls out there?
Oh, on the spot. I mean, why take my advice if I keep losing, really? But look, it's about having fun, Spinks, and particularly under-8s, like just stop keeping score of these poor kids. That said, 1 goal and a half. Wow, that's pretty crap. So do better. # do better. That's disappointing. I'm sorry to hear that. But on the flip, my girls won 42-6. So
whoa.
Yeah,
pretty good. Coachless. They are killing it. They are doing so well.
Now, you've never lost a game in your life ever. It's always the referee's fault. What advice would you have for these young girls?
Quit. If you've lost, you're not good enough. Get out. Be gone.
It's all downhill.
Like Ness said, 1 goal and a half is. I haven't seen a score that thin since a Newcastle Knights football game. So time for everyone to quit.
That's how we start the show. Look, I love it. Look, hope you guys are well. But while you mentioned it, the Knights and the Roosters on Friday night. Do you guys want to take the stage here to tell us what happened?
Ness got the win. Take it.
I'm going to get crucified 2 weeks in a row for not watching a football game that I possibly should have, but it had a good excuse this week. I was getting running commentary from mum, so shout out to my mum, who finally, after 30 odd years, has worked out I do go for the Roosters and not the Raiders, just because I live in Canberra. She's gotten onto that one. So she was giving me updates on the phone, which is terrific, but I was babysitting. I was hanging out with my best mate's 2 little kids, so just making sure they didn't die and they were safe, and the football had to come second.
That seems like a very good time to put the football on, teach them young.
Yeah, but they're a union family, you see, so...
Oh, Jesus. Yuck.
I tried to get them to, support the Roosters, and I was saying we don't go for the Knights because they're not very good. They need all the help that they can get.
Yeah, my only input is Kalen Ponga, another HIA, which he's had 3 in like 5 or 6 weeks. As a Knights fan and a lover of KP, I think it's best if Newcastle just puts him on the shelf.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, we're not going anywhere real fast this year. He's the future of the franchise. So let him rest up, get ready for 2023. It's so sad to see. He was on the Matty John show, though, and he's just such a cute guy. He's so, he seems so innocent. Oh, I love him. But, yeah, I reckon just put him on the shelf and be done with it and worry about next year.
Yeah, look, my Sharks have come through. That they were solid against the Panthers on a Saturday evening. They led 10-0 at halftime, ended up getting beaten 20-10, but we put in a good performance, and that was all I needed us to do. The fact that we can match it with them for most of the game proves that we are a top 4 team. And I think going forward, there's a lot more for us in September, unlike the 2 of your teams. So,
Nessa's team will be there or thereabouts.
I don't know, maybe just. Anyway, did you guys happen to catch the Tigers game yesterday? And what do you think of the finish of that game?
Did I ever?
Yes.
Yeah, disappointing, man. It kind of just sucked. If you're a West Tigers supporter, really, that's kind of your grand final. What they missed out on there. You saw, if you watched it, you saw on the sideline the boys getting so excited and amped, and just the way, I don't know how much detail you want to go in with what happened, but I can name 4 different things which happened which should have stopped that game from ending the way it did. So heartbreaking. It's just not what anyone wanted to see. I'm don't really care about either team, but it just ruined what was a really, really good game.
Yeah, I think for the Tigers who have struggled for so long to get those wins together, I think even just for them to have that confidence going forward into next week and into next season, I think that was better for them. If this had happened between the Titans and the Warriors, I don't think anyone would have been kicking up as much of a stink. Whereas I think the poor Tigers have been beaten for that long now that they probably needed that win. And the fact that he took a massive dive should be playing with Man United. It was terrible.
Plus, the Tigers had a man go off. He got sin binned in that game. They were down 12 men. The same guy had HIA. Oh, everything was against us.
There was old mate's 300th game, Tamo.
James Tamo, yeah. Shout out to him. That's an incredible effort. In the front row to play 300 games.
They've launched like fully formal investigations and everything today, and looking at all of their options. So it's getting a bit ugly, and that will set a precedence, I think, going forward. You know, if teams, the Roosters, I'm surprised haven't, in all of their whinging that they've done this year in some of the games, and actually the Raiders. Let's be real, Ricky Stewart's got an issue with every single game. So it could really open Pandora's box here, and that can of worms is going to be a bit dangerous one to open.
Look, speaking of the Raiders, I was having withdrawal symptoms, and I decided I would go to a game on the weekend, actual live game of sport. So, Ness, I saw you as I walked in the gate.
I can confirm he did attend. Well, he went through the gate. That's all I know.
Oh, please. There. So the three of us went and watched the Raiders and the Warriors game. The Warriors led 14-0 at halftime, and I was virtually begged to take them home, and they said no. I said, we're staying. This is happening. And turns out the Raiders come back to win for young Harry, who was stoked that they got the win in the end. It was good to see 11,000 or so there. The sun was out for most of it. I had my jacket off, my shirt was on. It was just a nice atmosphere. And there was a Warriors fan sitting next to us, and he was probably in his 50s. And old mate was probably 140 kg. And he was talking about how back in his day, when he was on the field doing this, you know those hecklers, but he wasn't being rude or mean. He was just funny. He was hilarious the whole way through. And even when they were getting beaten, he just took it to heart. He's like, it's unfair, ref. We've only got 13 on the field. They've got 14 with you. All that stuff. It was great. So it was very good to see. There wasn't any angst in the crowd, even when the Raiders were down. So it was good. Yeah, nice day out.
I'm very proud of you. Thanks for coming along, Spinks. It was very nice to see you. I didn't think you'd actually do it, so I'm very proud.
Oh, please. I made sure I came through your gates so you'd see me.
Yeah, well played from you. Yeah, I told you I'd be at the gate.
Now, Benji Marshall has been sticking his fingers into every pie that he can. Looks like he's been talking to Tedesco about a return for him to the Tigers. Is this just a news story, or is there some kind of substance to this? Uncle Nick's not going to allow it, surely, Ness.
I'll call Uncle Nick and have a chat if that's going to eventuate. We can't lose him. Well, you know what? The Tigers lost him the first time, and hopefully James has he's about to get married. I'm sure he needs all the funds he needs, and I'm pretty sure the Roosters will keep paying the bill for him to stay. So
paying the bill under his deal or under the table like that they always do?
I don't know anything about those kind of deals. Spinks.
Big brown bags.
Transparent. No sombreros here.
All right, guys. Turning our attention now to the F1 in France over the weekend. Now, Ness, you are our F1 correspondent. What did you see from this? The original, yeah. Now, Verstappen went on to win the race.
Yeah. So he did. Yes, my nephew has just launched into Canberra. He's actually moved to uni as of yesterday. And what else would you want to do than hang out with your auntie and watch the Formula One after a few drinks?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. I didn't quite make it through the whole race. I watched it today. But yes, so Ferrari spun off and knocked Carlos for a change into the wall, and Verstappen finished P1. He's just looking too good, really, and he was really catching Charles Leclerc from very early on. So he looked quite good. Hamilton looked quite good. He's just very calm. They're really experienced drivers. And I just think they're just using, I guess, all of that experience to, creep their way up the ladder. And I think we haven't seen the last of the brilliance that is Mercedes, actually. But Carlos, he started at P19. He took all the penalties because they changed his power unit after his internal barbecue session in his car last week. And he started P19 and he ended up P5. He was actually at P3 1 point. I'm gonna
watch this. Here we go. Here's a podcast feature for you if you've ever seen one.
Is it Carlos on?
Yes.
Hi,
Jazz. Trying to sneak.
Sorry, carry on.
Well played. That was awesome.
But
yeah, Carlos got driver of the day. So crept up a heap of positions and almost got onto the podium. But anyway, I'll talk a little bit more about that situation later in the podcast. But a kind of nothing race really. Like it wasn't overly controversial, but we've had some epic races. So the Hart didn't really need a stressful one. But Verstappen, he's leading by 63 points, 10 races to go. So
that was good.
Well, thank you, Spin.
The fun fact, I'll just a quick comment on it. Fun fact is Charles Leclerc, like Ness touched on, he's led. He's been in the lead on 3 separate occasions, and he's either crashed or his car's failed him, which is it's 70 points he's left behind for most. He's come out and said that it was his fault in his crash in France, but if not for those, he'd be leading the Formula One, so we could have a completely different story.
Yes. The Athletics World Championships are on at the moment, and the Aussies have won a gold medal in the women's high jump and the women's javelin as well. There are other medals out there, but they're not on my list. So I'm very sorry to everyone else that's won medals, but I only have them written down. So thank you. And we've got the Commonwealth Games starting in 2 weeks' time from Birmingham over in England. We've sent over 400 competitors this year to compete. Seems like the Commonwealth Games or the Olympics are on every single year now. Is that just me or is that a COVID thing? Because didn't we just have the Olympics?
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like you're complaining about it for someone hosting.
Oh, I'm not, but it just seems to be always on. Yeah.
It's a COVID thing, but yeah, you're right. I kind of, I'm in this world and I still had to ask the question of this the other day because you're right. We did just watch the Com Games. So, yeah.
Just before we get into the good, bad, and the ugly, Proctor's been released immediately by the Gold Coast Titans for filming himself vaping at half time.
Yes, I did see that.
Gold Coast Titans, Kevin Proctor has been released immediately by the Gold Coast Titans after he filmed himself vaping during halftime. With the caption, not the halftime vape. That's brilliant.
We don't mind the vape around here, but is that the worst thing to do?
Well, they've lost like 10 games in a row. They're only equal last with you guys. So
we are not equal last.
With the Tigers. Sorry.
We're sitting at 12th. We're not doing so bad. 12 sounds pretty good for a Newcastle fan, doesn't it?
Yeah, 12 is fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, I read too, the Boomers had a win too. They played in the Asian Cup and beat Lebanon in Jakarta.
Lebanon, sorry, yes.
By 2. So
85-83 this morning, and that's the Asian Championship, is it? Sewn up? Yeah.
Yeah. Asian Cup back to back. So yeah, good win for the old Boomers. They took down New Zealand, I think, earlier in the week. So always good to beat the Kiwis as well.
Done well there. The Aussies, well, it's time for the good, bad, and ugly, folks. And I've got the good this week, and I've got a very, very, very good. Good. That makes sense. Not at all. Jackson Warne, the son of the legendary Shane Warne, made a promise to his dad a couple of years back that he would play in the World Series of Poker Tour. $10,000 buy-in for this tour. It's on over in Vegas at the moment. Jackson Warner's got through the first day. He's gone from 10,000 to 82,000. So he's got 82,000 worth of chips. He'll be on again. He was on again last night. He's still in there now. And he'll be on again tonight, our time. So if you get a chance to check out the World Series of Poker, check out Jackson Warren. A few photos of him circulating on social media this week. Looks like a young version of his dad, and he's got a young female with him who is quite attractive, and reminds me of his dad a lot. So that was very good.
How old is he?
He wouldn't be much older than 20. Maybe, I suppose he'd have to be 21
to be 21,
in Vegas. Yes, so at least 21. Yeah. So yeah, it's good to see. So nice work. Warnie takes after his dad. So very good.
Good man.
Yeah. Now, Ness, you got the bad for us. What do you got?
A bit of a carry on from the Formula One. The Ferrari strategists are copying an absolute earful from some kind of questionable, and Bo, join in here because I've been reading so much of it today and they are just copying it. So we've seen in the past couple of races, Carlos in particular has sort of challenged them a few times when they haven't quite nailed the strategy, or they've suggested things that are a bit off. But two or three things happened in the French race, and I say it was a little bit underwhelming, but a few things happened that were quite interesting if you're a Carlos Sainz fan. So Carlos gets a 5-second penalty. Is it unsafe? Is that what they call it, Bo? Unsafe
release, I think, from the pit. Yeah.
And basically nearly takes out a McLaren engineer putting a tyre on and a Williams car that's coming behind him. So gets a 5-second penalty, but his radio tells him that he's got a stop and go penalty. And he's like, no, guys, that's not right at all. So this guy's doing 300 Ks an hour down a straight and just correcting the engineers that have just no idea on the team radio. So that was one. And then he's literally wheel to wheel with Checo Perez, and in the middle of an overtake, which he's been trying to do for a couple of laps. And he's mid overtake on a corner and they're like, box, Carlos, box. And he was like, not now.
He was like, not fucking now. Like, can you see what's going on here?
So they just, and then they shoot to the pit wall and they're all just scribbling notes. And anyway, they're really coming under fire for just being a little bit interesting in the way that they approach things. And Carlos post-race came out and sort of said, look, I back them. They have the data in front of them. They know what's going on, and I kind of back them to give me the strategy. That said, as I said earlier, he has challenged them on a few occasions. But a bit of what I'm reading today is that if you are a Ferrari driver, you are just told what to say and don't challenge it, particularly in the media. Or what happens to you is what Sebastian Vettel went through, and see you later, you can go to a different different team, sorry. Yeah. So, welcome your thoughts on this, because I mean, the memes are hilarious. You've got to see those. It's really quite funny. But, you know, they're really calling for Binotto to step aside and for others to maybe relinquish their roles at Ferrari because of what's happening. So,
I don't know how it happens unless you've just got, like, they're all nerds, right? Like, unless all their heads are just in computers looking at analytics and there's not one of them just actually watching the race. I have no idea how you have that happen.
There's like 50 of them there, right? So to your point, like, surely someone was watching at that exact moment when he's going around a corner and being told to go to the pits. It's wild.
So is this maybe something that's been happening for a while, but because there's now microphones and cameras and stuff everywhere, that these days we hear every conversation that's had, maybe this has actually been going on for ages now, but whereas the last couple, because the coverage is so good, we actually get to hear more of it.
It's interesting you say it. A couple of the commentators today referenced that this is just the Ferrari way as well, and you know, that just sort of happens. Carlos himself said that, you know, he thinks that Ferrari gets sort of unfairly scrutinized, and that every team actually this happens and this goes on in each race, but you just probably don't see as much of it. So to your point, Sphinx, maybe we do just see a little bit more. Like, we're obviously focusing on Ferrari because they're a contender for the championship. We obviously focus on Red Bull because of Verstappen's, his lead, and he probably will win the championship. We obviously focus on a bit more on Mercedes because of Hamilton. So, yeah, I think you're right.
I think we're more like, you're going to focus on Ferrari when they just keep making like error after error. There's something that breaks in a car. There's something that's happening in the pit. There's a driver that just comes off the track. Like, what else are you going to talk about? Like,
it's great content.
Race, a couple of races, and you're not going to have anyone talk about it.
Between reliability and some interesting strategies going on at Ferrari, it's all a little bit bad at the moment. So anyway, we'll see how they rebound back. But good times.
You've got the ugly. What do you got, mate?
Yeah, I've got the ugly, and hang out with me here because this starts off making me sound like an absolute prick. But my ugly this week is Manly. Next week, Manly Seagulls in the NRL are coming out, and they're playing in a Pride jersey. Pause. Ugly's not the jersey. There's 7 different players which have come out and made a comment about potentially not playing in the game because they don't want to be representing a jersey which is Pride. It's got the Pride colours on it, right? So in 2022, if that's just, you're not going to play in a jersey that because there's colours on it in a world where we're the most accepting we've ever been, and something that we should all be like hitting home for. Like, good on the NRL, I suppose, for putting it out. But if you got like 7 guys, is pretty fucked up. And if you're not okay in supporting the community of the LGBTQI plus whatever it is, then you probably need to have a pretty good hard look at yourself, I suppose. And it's just not something we should be seeing in anything, let alone professional sport. And if we're going to always hone in so much about the NRL players are our idols and they can't be getting into fights because there's kids that look up to them, if they see 7 different dudes of, like, if you're a kid and maybe you're going through what you're going through and you're trying to find who you are yourself, and these are your role models, and they're coming out to be like, I'm not going to play in a jersey if it's supporting this. Yeah. I'm all for just giving them a ban, say, for cool, don't play in it. But I think we as a society, that's pretty fucked. That's not good enough.
Yeah, it looks like they've got the Roosters on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. So it'll be very interesting to see how many turn up there. That's astounding. That's ugly.
That is wild.
Always got a bit of a bad name for being in dickheads, but that's just, that's ridiculous. Say that. No.
A good ugly though, Bo. One.
Very good ugly. Very nice.
Let's see what happens. Maybe we'll win for sure if they're playing the Roosters. If there's 7 not coming, in the bag.
Controversy.
Manly would win if there's only 7 on the park. So fine. Right, coming up this week, there's another massive weekend in sports. The NRL, of course, a few huge games we just touched on, Manly and the Roosters. Parramatta and Penrith as well on Friday night. The Raiders should get an easy win over the Titans. The Sharks have got South, which will be a bit of a tough game there. And Newcastle against the Dogs, the Battle of the Spoon. So that should be interesting.
Come on, Bo.
Make sure you tune in for that 2 o'clock on Sunday. Battle of the Spoon. Now, Ness, the GPs at Hungary this weekend before they have a month off. Is that right?
That's right. And if Ferrari can get it together with strategies and reliability, they are saying, the professionals, certainly not me, that this is Ferrari's race to lose. So let's let you know next Monday how that goes.
Throw your money on Ferrari.
As a fun fact, my main NFL fantasy league, we're deciding our draft order based on how that race turns out. We're all getting names like teams out of the hat.
Awesome.
Very good.
And then so that's going to decide our draft order. So I'll be watching that very closely.
And speaking about the greatest sport on the planet, the Women's World Championships are on. They start tomorrow night, I think it is, over in Finland. We've got 3 local girls from here in Canberra going over. Grace Murphy, Danielle de Groot, and Danielle Stosic. Got those right.
Nailed it.
Oh, damn it. Yes. Thank you. Yes. And friends of the 2 of ours all of them. Both. Thank you. And we'll try and get one of the girls on the show when they come back in a couple of weeks' time.
Awesome.
There's 8 teams in the comp. I think they have 2 games, and then the top 2 teams of those 2 games go into the final. So it'll be interesting to see how the girls go. I think they play Canada first. So we'll see how they get seeded after that one. Trying to stay away from the US, I reckon. But the girls are in with a good shot. So it should be very good to see.
Good luck, girls.
Like girls. And the Commonwealth
There you
Games
go.
kicks off soon. Seems to be on every year. So who knows? But you get all the coverage here from it. Who wins what medals next week. So see you guys next week. Hooroo.
Take care, brush your hair.